discuss a lot at Bold House with our Bold House Collective members and our other clients. And it is this idea of the savior complex. This is a unique mindset challenge that folks experience who started their business as a consultant, a coach, a speaker, or some type of professional services provider after leaving a job in which they experienced a lot of negativity or a lot of toxicity, or they got very, very burned out. Sometimes we might see folks come out of the medical profession. A lot of times we see people come out of sales, or they come out of the global consulting industry where they're road warriors, or we see people who are in a corporate role and it's just a grind day in and day out. And there comes a point when that person becomes a corporate escapee, right? They decide, I'm no longer going to stay in this role, and instead I'm going to start my own business. And there are two things that often happen in that experience. And both of them can be very dangerous if they're at either end of sort of the polar ends of the spectrum. On one side, you see folks who are kind of like, do you remember those old, I'm going to date myself now. Do you remember those old Kool-Aid commercials where the Kool-Aid guy would just like go busting through the wall and like running away? You know, there are the folks who leave their role to start a business, and they're that person who's like busting through the wall, and they are running as far as they possibly can from anything and everything they did during their professional career and in those roles. So they just leave it all on the cutting room floor. They leave all that value, all that knowledge, all that experience, all those relationships, and they just go running in the opposite direction. They're like, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear about it because they just need to heal. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the folks who often get into what we call the savior complex. This idea of, I now need to go back and I need to save organizations from having that toxicity. I need to go back and I need to help the people who are really burned out. I basically need to save me, but not me today. I now want to go back and save all the other me's that are still inside of companies today. Both ends of these spectrums, if they're taken to the extremes, can be really, really detrimental to your business. And I will explain why here in just a second. If you're scrolling through LinkedIn right now or YouTube right now, and you're like, who is this woman talking about the savior complex? I'm Angelique Ruhr, CEO and founder of Bold House, and we're the leading expert at working with experts to help them win and work with corporate clients. And so we end up with a lot of folks in our amazing global community here at Bold House who in fact are corporate escapees who are now running businesses that are in workplace transformation, corporate wellness, corporate marketing, leadership, executive coaches, trainers, keynote speakers, authors, etc., who are now taking that information into the B2B space. So on one end of the spectrum, let's start with the folks who are the Kool-Aid guy, right? The Kool-Aid pitcher guy who go running in the other direction. I think what I would share with you about that end of the spectrum is, if you're going to leave your job or you have left your job and it was a place of burnout or toxicity for you, I think the first thing is that you should take some time to decompress. And, we've seen folks need sometimes as much as up to a year to kind of go through that decompression and really do some self-care and, really refine themselves out there. And I think that's a really important thing to do. I would then say to yourself, what were the parts of the work that you did that you actually really, really loved? What were the things about your degrees, maybe your advanced degrees, your certifications, some of the organizations you were involved with, the people you were involved with, the transformation that you were involved with, and what pieces or elements of it do you really love or always loved? They're just kind of a natural part of who you are. There are so many ways that you can take all of that value, all of that knowledge, all of that experience that you created over your professional career, and you can repackage it and you can pivot it and you can remessage it and realign it so that you're not having to just walk away from all of it. And, there may be a 90-day period where walking away sounds like a really great thing to do. But more often than not, what we find is people who end up in a conference room with me and our EVP Phil Dyer at a strategy day in tears because they feel like they're not utilizing 10, 15, 20, sometimes 25 years of knowledge and expertise that they have built up. And yet at the same time, they don't want to go back to the toxicity. The really great thing is, as a business owner, you always get to decide who you work with, what clients you take on, what projects you say yes to, what projects you say no to, how much someone's going to pay you for it to be worth it for you to take something on, the pace at which you go, and the boundaries that you can set around it. But if you feel like you've left that behind, I just want to give you just a loving nudge to know that there are folks out there who can really help you put that back into perspective and really leverage that knowledge base and all of that expertise and all of those connections and Rolodex that you built and all of those things that you have for your past. And you can rebuild your business in a way that feels really great and fuels you and motivates you and energizes you and really brings the best part of what you used to do with the best part of where you're going now. So that's very possible to do. And if you feel like you're not utilizing all of that, then just know that that is possible for you. The other folks I want to talk to are the folks with the savior complex. And this one is also can be really, really costly to your business. And we actually see this one quite a lot. Like I said, these are the folks who saw negative things, not ideal things going on inside of organizations. And they really want to fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it, which is great. And it's a really great why to have for your business, right? Because it's personal, you really care about it, you're passionate about it. It gives you that big why. So that's the good news. The bad news about wanting to go back and to save organizations is often the important work isn't done when it comes to really distilling that down into actionable problems that companies are really in a place to solve now. You can't approach a company with sort of this big transformative vision that there's no one decision maker who's responsible for that. It's such a big vision. There's no on ramp to even work with you because what you're bringing forward in a messaging and positioning perspective in the world is so nebulous. It's so big. It's so aspirational that a decision maker is like, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds amazing. And also, if you look at my calendar for the next 90 days, I don't even know when I'm going to have time to look at my to-do list, which is 10 miles long. So this vision that you're telling me sounds great, but I don't know what to do with that. I'm a decision maker and I have this many people who work for me, and I'm in charge of these issues in the company, and these are the problems that I have to solve, and these are the decisions I'm allowed to make, and you're bringing me this big, grandiose vision. Sometimes we call this the baby, right? The baby, because it's like the person's baby. They just want to show everybody, but look at the baby, right? The baby's so cute. Let me tell you about my baby. And the problem is you can't sell that to a company. I'm trying to that's like in an algorithm somewhere that's going to come out all wrong. But you can't sell these big nebulous aspirational visions to companies. Where do they work well? They work well in keynotes. They work well in books. But ultimately, you have to then take that big transformative vision that you have for organizations, and we have to start distilling that down to create on-ramps where decision makers can look and say, yeah, we could get started with that. We could take an action here. This is a problem we have or a need that we have. And we see how this service, this program, this offering that you're bringing to the table aligns with a project that we've already committed to do, something coming up on our calendars, a problem that we're interested in solving. But we can't just walk in with this big, message. And sometimes we see it in branding. We see people with these big aspirational messages in branding. We see it on their websites. We see it in taglines, and that's fine, but not if you're not bringing it down to the practical, to the tangible, to the immediate, to what's relevant, what kinds of issues or elements could be tackled in 30, 60, 90 days in a 6-month program or a 12-month program, because organizations can't transform overnight, and you can't sell aspiration, not to decision makers inside of organizations, right? You've got to think about, who is the decision maker I really want to sell to, that I really want to work with, and what do they have domain over inside their organization? And that's where I need to talk into. So if you're at either end of the spectrum, you're a corporate escapee and you're not sure how to really take the stuff that you used to love and pull that forward and bring that into your mojo and bring that into your positioning in order to create a really profitable coaching business, consulting business, professional services business, or you're at the other end of the spectrum and like there's something inside of you, and yes, you really, really, really want to save these organizations, but so far it's not working. You're not really making money, and you're talking about these big ideas and these big aspirational visions that you know is where the market needs to go, but you really need help bringing it down to what's going to create regular, repeatable, predictable revenue in your business, make you feel good about doing that work, but also set you up for those bigger, more transformative initiatives that are out there. How can you do that? Either way, if you're at either end of that spectrum, then I want to invite you to be with us in October for 3 magnificently robust, tangible, incredible days in Fort Lauderdale at Bold House Groove. This is our annual conference where we bring together consultants, professional service providers, diverse business owners, leadership coaches, trainers, speakers, anyone who really wants to have a step-by-step, repeatable business development framework for working with B2B clients. And I will tell you, our community, in a huge percentage of our community, are people who at one point worked in a B2B space, a corporate space, and they want to take the best of that world and really marry it with the highly conscious, highly driven person that they are now in their business. They want to do it in a way where they both are able to get their feet in the door with organizations, and not have to over explain what they do, really have a natural on ramp to organizations, and then be able to develop those clients into bigger accounts where they can do more transformative work, more visionary work over time. So if you want help doing that, and you're a former corporate escapee and you haven't been able to put all the pieces together of your experience, of what you learned about marketing, of the new maybe certifications that you have, and the direction that you want to go and the direction you see the market going, and you're like, how do I put all of these puzzle pieces together? Then there's really only one event on the planet that all of these things come together for you, as that expert-based business owner working in the B2B space, who's a change agent, who wants to do transformative work and also has a very serious revenue goal, and you want to really be able to scale your business and not recreate burnout for yourself, right? So if that's the case, we really want to just invite you to come join us for 3 amazing days in Fort Lauderdale at Bold House Groove. There's really no other conference or event on the planet that comes anywhere close or even covers any of the territory or the ground that we cover at Bold House Groove. And I'll tell you that when we went through our rebrand back in 2021 and we became Bold House, the reason the word house is in our name is because so many people ultimately come to one of our events and they look around the room, and within 15 minutes they realize, I'm home. Like, this is my professional home. I'm somebody who's had a career. I now have my business. I'm not here for the bro culture. Like, I'm not here for the nonsense, the NLP crap, and you guys know what I'm talking about when I say like the bro culture, right? Like, we're not here for all that digital marketing stuff. Like, we're here to work with organizations and clients where we get to do really transformative work. And that's what we're looking to do. And I'll tell you, people come into the event and right away they're like, this is home. This is my new home. This is exactly where I need to be, with exactly the kind of people that I need to be with. And so that's a little bit about why the word house is in there, because people have told us for over a decade that we become their home. So we'd love to welcome you to the house. This is all happening October 17th through 20th in amazing, beautiful Fort Lauderdale. We are right on the beach at the Westin Fort Lauderdale Beach Resort for Bold House Groove. The URL is right below, so you can get all the details there. If you are registered, even if you weren't on a complimentary training we had earlier today, there is an incredible bonus for those who are registered by September 7th. It's a graduation bonus. You're not probably going to see it on the site because it's kind of secret, but just know it's epic. It's incredible. You'll just be like, oh my God, I didn't even know I was getting that when I was coming to this event, and you just gave me this entire toolkit to use in my business. That's amazing. So that's a little hint about that. Head to boldhousegroove.com. Prices go up soon because we're right now still in early bird, but that is quickly coming to an end. So get your registration in. If you are a corporate escapee and you're a coach or a consultant or professional service provider, this is the one event this year that you need to be at. All right, everybody, I am headed to the dog park with my dog. So I'm going to run. Check out the website, get your seat, and we will see you in Fort Lauderdale.